All right, everyone. Welcome back to That Plumbing Podcast. I'm Brandon the Plumber. This is episode 22, and I'm here with Mac and Josh this week.
What's going on, everybody?
Yeah, Josh and Mac have both been on in the past, and I thought it'd be a great idea to just have them both on at the same time. My goal is to really, like, when I say I want to build like a community of plumbers, like-minded people and stuff like that. So like plumbing's great, it pays the bills, it's a career, it's a trade, it's all those things. But it's not like it doesn't define me. I'm not like studying plumbing all the time and like just completely absorbed by it. I have like my own life and I deal with real world stuff, the same stuff that like most of us are dealing with now, the economy and the politics and just everything. The world's a mess. And we are going to talk about some controversial topics as well, because, that's the interesting stuff. And that's what really gets engagement. And it's boring if you never disagree. I want people to comment, email me, whatever. And like, if you disagree, tell me why. Tell me if I'm wrong. If you have a better idea, if there's a better way, that's where, like I really want to take this. So what I really like to start off with, and I kind of touched on this last week, one thing that I've seen, and I don't know if you two agree or if I'm the only one, but like private equity companies coming in and buying up all the plumbing, all the HVAC, all the electrical places, and then just jacking the prices up, through the roof. I'm all for us being paid well for our trade, for our skills, and we deserve a good living, support our family and all those things. But, Mac, you're from the Valley, that's like insane. Some of the prices that they tell these people. And I've went behind these customers before and they've told me stories about, the high pressure sales stuff. And, I just absolutely hate the high pressure sales and the memorizing objection handlings and, like the guy that's all jacked up and he's like, sell, coffees for closers. That's like, oh my God, that's like one of the problems with like the world, like greed and money. And it's not about just money. So I guess what I'm asking you guys is like, what are some things that drive you outside of the money that make you want to be not just a plumber, but like a better person to your wife and kids? And, what's underneath the plumbing? What drives you guys?
I'll go ahead and go first. I guess, really, you said it, the family. I mean, I think, we all have family we need to take care of. That's probably the biggest driver. The work is fulfilling, obviously. I enjoy going to work. I mean, there's those weeks where I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go to work. But when you get there and you're doing a job and you get a customer that really appreciates what you're doing, it makes it all worth it.
It's a lot of fun to like, I kind of go back to like, okay, so years ago I used to cut grass and, you'd start and like do the grass looks like, absolute dog shit. And it's awesome to see whenever you're all done, the nice straight lines, the clean edge that you cut. And it's kind of like, I think of that as in plumbing. I know that's kind of a weird analogy, but it's like you take something like, oh, here's a 25-year-old water heater. It's got nasty water buildup all over it. It's got nasty water lines. Nothing looks like it's right. It's all dusty and nasty. You take it all out. You put a nice new water heater in, nice straight lines, clean copper. Everything looks good. And you're like, man, I did that. And that's really cool to be able to take pride in what you do every day and know that you're helping people on a day-to-day basis, while, like you said, not scamming people with, high prices that are just astronomical. I mean, with the economy nowadays, dude, it's only going to get worse. So we got to help our customers as much as we can and give them the best services possible.
Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure not every private equity company is like that. So if you work for one of the bigger companies and, you disagree, or I'm just way out there, shoot me an email, Brandon@thatplumbingpodcast.com, or leave a comment on YouTube. And I'd love to have you on and talk to you to see if it's as bad as like the rumors are. Because I'm genuinely curious. I don't know if you have any insights.
You're talking about like the Roto-Rooters and Mr. Rooters, stuff like that.
Yeah, like the corporate franchised big companies. Okay. Yeah, private equities that are out there.
That's fair.
Because like it seems that they have this culture of like sell, objection handling, and like it's all about your numbers. And you go and it's like there's more to life than money. There's more to the job than money. Like that's when you become like a greedy capitalist, or like a someone like a used car salesman feel. There's better ways. I mean, I try and like I'll talk to the customers, I'll give them options, but I don't like hard sell them. I really am kind of like the follow up. Let them know that you're there, and then they'll call you back when they're ready. And I've had customers do that all the time. Call me up weeks, months later, finally going with the tankless or a softener or something like that. They remember you and they trust you.
Yeah, some of those customers have told me like we'll come out and give them a bid for the same thing that they had them come out for, and our price is like 2/3 of what theirs was, or even sometimes half of what theirs was. I'm like, really? I feel like our prices are pretty standard. I mean, they're high, but they're not that high. And it's just crazy to hear some of those other prices that are coming out of some of those companies. Another thing that I would love for them to email into you and tell me if this is true, but I don't know exactly which company said this, but they said that if you went on like 2 or 3 calls in a row and you came back with like basically just trip charges or $0 tickets, they sent you home for the day, which is mind blowing to me. Cause like I used to work for a commission based company, and dude, you had those days where you had 5 calls that were just all trash and you could not make any money. And that's like just the luck of the draw or the unluck of the draw sometimes. Like sometimes you get some piddly calls, sometimes you have bad customers. Who knows what the circumstances are? And then some weeks, dude, you couldn't get me to stop selling stuff. So it's like you really never know what you're gonna get.
No, you don't. Sometimes it's just slow. Sometimes it just feels wrong to push. It feels dirty. It feels sleazy. I would rather charge like a moderate amount and on every call after call, than trying to get this crazy ticket, every couple of days or so.
Yeah,
So,
I've had a ton of customers where it's a week like you were describing where there's not a lot going on. You go out for something, there's nothing there. And there's sometimes where the customer is under the impression something needs to be done. So I could go in there, do the work, even though they don't necessarily need it.
Right.
And when I tell them, hey, Mr. or Mrs. whatever, I'm happy to do this work. You don't really need it. It's whoever told you what they told you isn't necessarily right. Do you want me to do the work? And 9 times out of 10, they'll say no, but they appreciate it. And almost every single time, I'll be back for the next plumbing call. Because they know I'm going to be honest with them. And that kind of builds up your work for the slow times. That customer is going to call in the future.
we were talking about earlier, your drive outside of money. I'm not trying to sound cheesy, and it's going to sound a little cheesy, but I talked about this before. Enjoy making that connection with people. Like, as crazy as the world is and can be, and people are and has been, you get the opportunity to go into someone's home where they live. Their kids are there, their dogs are there, they sleep there, and you get to you get to build a relationship, but you get to have like a positive vibe. You can make their day better by just being positive yourself and being enthusiastic and listening to them. Some people never have anyone listen to them unless they got a therapist, So like for me, a big part is listening to customers is a great way to build trust in that relationship as well. And like, even if I don't sell something, I still feel better that I'm making the world a little bit of a better place, one call at a time. As cheesy that sounds, and sometimes I don't do it. Sometimes I'm in a mood as well, so I'm not perfect. But it's a great opportunity to connect with people.
So here's kind of a bounce back question here for you, Mac. You go into a customer's house, and they say, well, I had such and such company come out and tell me I had to do this. And then you go out and say, hey, no, that's not really actually correct. You don't have to do this, but I'm more than welcome to do this if you would like me to. I know that you are younger than both of us, I think. How old are you?
23.
23? Okay. So so I had this a lot when I was younger. I started when I was 25. Brandon, maybe you had this too. Do you ever get a customer that's like, yeah, I don't trust you because you're young?
Oh yeah.
Dude, that
Since
thing
I
drives me nuts.
it's a little less. If you can call this a stash.
Hey.
But yeah, it's usually, not to generalize, it's usually older couples. They'll right off the bat, well, are you a helper? Or I don't know, if you're gonna have to prove that you know what you're talking about. And I've came a long way with dealing with that. At first, I would get super offended and say, listen, Mr. and Mrs., I don't need to be here. This is my job. I do this for a living. I know what I'm doing. Now I kind of laugh. I try to at least laugh it off and say, well, if you don't trust me, I totally understand. I know I'm younger. I have been doing it for 5 years. And if there's anything I'm not comfortable with, I will absolutely call my plumbing manager to come out. And usually that silences them. And if it doesn't, they'll usually hammer me with questions to try to expose me, I guess.
Yeah.
Luckily, I've gotten pretty good at answering most questions, unless it's a kind of a ridiculous one. Like, where's this PVC water line leaking underground? Point exactly there. I don't know. You can't pinpoint that.
Right.
But
right.
yeah, I get that all the time, and it's whatever at this point. I guess on the flip side, if someone super young walked in and was gonna work on my house, I guess it's a fair skepticism. I feel if someone doesn't know what they're talking about, I'm sure you guys agree, you'll figure it out really quick. Even if you're not a plumber, you can tell by their mannerisms how confident they are in what they're saying if they know what they're talking about. So,
Brandon, do you ever have that in plumbing?
Fortunately, no. I definitely am way older than Mac. I got into it when I was like 28 or around that age. Took some time off, and I just got back into it, 6-7 years ago. So I guess I look old enough. I've never had an issue with that. But there's a guy I worked with. He is the youngest plumber that I know. He was 17 when I was working with him. He just turned 18. He might be 19 now, but he's in there. He's in a van. He's doing his thing. He's like the drain guy. Like he runs the excavators, does a lot. Dude,
right.
He's amazing for his, not only for his age, just in general. He went and got his journeyman's as well. So, shout out to Matthew if you're listening.
Dude, that's awesome. Keep going, Matthew.
Mm-hmm. He actually inspired me. If things work out and I can arrange it for home, I will be taking the journeyman's class and the exam in July, I think.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Just for me, to know the codes, to keep up on it. It's like you were saying, Josh, it's like college, like finishing college for plumbing.
Right
there you go. Yep.
Got it on the floor.
There you go.
Already tabbed up. So, all right. Well, yeah, I hate to rag on private equity companies, but I just really, don't like them. I don't like them. I don't like them overcharging. I don't like the heavy sales techniques. I don't like feeling like you're not good enough because you can't close a $23,000 softener. There's more to life than that. And that's why it's really important, you try and find like a mom and pop company or just get a feel for them as best you can beforehand. Very fortunate. And I think we all work for smaller companies and we don't really have to deal with that. So
I will say though, one of the most satisfying things is to walk into a job where they've had one of those big box companies and not make them look like a fool per se, but point out things like, yeah, I see what they're saying, but because a lot of those techs, they'll hire anyone, especially in Arizona, because you could have a box of tools and they'll hire you.
Yes.
You can go in there and disprove a lot of the stuff they're saying, and you can explain why it's so much from them. Because a lot of times I'll have customers second guessing my price because they think it's too good to be true compared to their prices. And I explained, they can put a price on as high as they want, and if you say no, your neighbor down the street's going to say yes. So they really don't. They don't lose any sleep over you saying no. So sometimes it works in our favor, just because our prices are better and we can explain. We're family owned. At least my company is family owned. We want everyone to make a good living. We're not trying to gouge anyone out of a price. We want long-term customers.
Yeah.
And see, that's the crazy thing though, is like it comes back to if there's customers out there that are paying those astronomical prices, then that's telling us as like the market that it's allowed, sadly. And so that's going to always be an option in the market, unfortunately, until everyone stops saying yes to those options.
Yeah. And I mean, they put millions into advertising, so I'm sure we all know an HVAC tech and an electrician that we can use for whatever, but someone that has no relatives that are in the trades or anything, they'll see a commercial online and cool, so and so and sons. Oh, they look great, you know,
Right.
5 stars. So I'll call them over, and then they just don't know any better. So
Right.
Yeah, that's got to be what it is. I mean, yeah, but I would really be interested in knowing their percentages, like how many calls do they go on versus how many calls do they sell something. I mean, are they leaving a lot on the table in hopes or waiting for that one big sale? Or, that's why if anyone could answer that, that would be great.
so what I get, so my dad, who's a plumber, he used to work for one of the biggest companies here. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Um, Luckily he was higher up on the pedestal, I guess. You know, he's proven himself. He's been there for years. He was saying when he was there, they would, for the newest techs, there's probably 10 or 20 that are kind of the newer ones. They'll give them one call a day because that's all they have.
Damn.
And they need to make their money on that one call or else they don't make a living. And I mentioned it last time, but if they don't convert enough sales, they get called into the office. That it's an issue. So a lot of these plumbers, like you said, they don't have a choice. One, they don't know enough, and that's why those companies will hire them. Like they'll know how to install water heaters, softeners, probably, you know, the basic stuff, make a copper repair. But in terms of diagnosing, they don't know anything. So the only way they can make money is to sell a water heater, sell a tankless, you know, the big number items, or else they don't make money.
Oh, so it's like plumbers who aren't necessarily skilled enough to do like full on diagnosing, option building. They're more, they can do a couple of water heaters, they can do water heater softener, and they go in there and try and just maximize whatever they can.
Some, I don't want to say everyone, but a lot of kids, I guess I call them, in terms of plumbing, like their knowledge is not high enough to go to another company and be able to sustain, you know, their lifestyle
Yeah.
or whatever. So when they go there, they have to sell it. And a lot of times, they'll do something wrong. And when they do, the customer calls and complains. They just give them a portion of the money back and move on to the next. They don't care as long as they get some money out of you. That's all they really care about.
You can't, what are they, the one out here, 120 like techs, like 80 plumbers.
Oh yeah, it's
And then
That's
100
wild.
probably
it's
more than that now, to
insane.
be honest. I think 6 years ago, 7 years ago, they had 80 techs. So multiple millions on advertising and all that. It's
You probably don't have that, Josh, at your town because you're smaller.
No, no.
Mhm.
I would say maybe the largest plumbing outfitter in my city, they might have like 10 guys.
Mm. Was pricing like difficult for you at first, like when you started selling on your own? Customers didn't freak out?
It was, whenever I first started, it was a little challenging for me to get behind the pricing. I remember having an issue with, oh man, I got to go present to this customer and I got to tell them that it's either going to be $600, it's going to be $1,200, or it's going to be $2,000. And like, I would always shy away from those numbers and like telling those numbers to the customer. Cause like to me, hey man, $2,000 is a lot. Well, to a lot of people, $2,000 is a lot, shoot, to some people, $200 is a lot. Still a lot to me. Okay. I don't want to lose $200 on stuff that I don't really look at. I use it every day. Yeah. But it's like, you're just throwing money down the drain, quote unquote, to get it fixed. It's stuff that you don't really think about that you have to get fixed. So it was like, it took me a while to get this is what I learned from a guy that's actually going to come visit us tomorrow. I'm not going to say his name, but he taught me about transferable belief system. If you believe in what you're selling, you understand what you're selling, how it works. It kind of goes back to this education, trust, loyalty thing too. But if you know what you're talking about, the belief that you have can be transferred to your customer because of the confidence that you exude from what you know about the products. And it's easy enough to transfer those to your customers so that they can trust you and honestly, go with you.
Yeah, I felt that big time when I first started. Because I don't know if you know this, but I know Brandon does. When I first started, I mean, I didn't know what channel locks were. To be totally honest with you, I didn't know anything.
Same here, man.
So the guy he would throw me in a van. It was me and him, the owner, and then me. I was like his helper. $15 an hour, whatever. It's where I learned. But he'd throw me to install a sink and stuff, and I don't know how to do that. So I'd go, he'd tell me the price, and the way I would relay the price was so, with no confidence because I didn't know exactly how to do it. I think that relays in all type of aspects. If you don't know how to install software like that, the way you tell the customer the price is going to come off a little shaky. Whereas when you know exactly what you're doing and you know what's involved, you know the parts, you know how much time it's going to take, you feel fine telling them that price because you know the company needs to make money, you need to make money, and compared to other places, it's a very fair price. So I feel like the more you know, the more confident you get in your work, the more confident you'll get in delivering the price. At least that's what I've found in myself.
Absolutely about confidence. I mean, I remember when I first started, would preface the customer, and this is pretty much verbatim. I know this is really expensive. I know this is really expensive, but I'm going to be able to take $100 off the top, so it won't be too bad. And I would show them the price, and maybe they'd still say something about price, and I'd be like, I know, but that's what they asked us to charge. Like, no confidence in the price, really in my value, in our value as plumbers. And that's the biggest thing that's improved my way of looking at things and being okay with charging what we charge is understanding how valuable we are, despite what society tells us or colleges tell us, or even the customers who freak out over something that's very underpriced. And so we are very valuable. And we don't even think about it. We like unscrewing stuff like something like an angle stop might seem very simple to us, but it's not.
There's a whole thing on every single receipt we give to a customer. There's a little section right there at the bottom, right before the signature, that basically explains why we cost what we cost and basically what you're paying for. It won't go into it too far, but it basically says, don't judge us on how quickly we're going to get the job done. Like, judge us because of the customer service and the expertise that's inside your home is basically what it says. Because I went to a customer's house on Monday, yesterday, and she needed a pull and reset of her toilet. So I was like, all right, okay, cool. Here's a choice for a pull and reset, or we could go ahead and replace your toilet. It's about 10 or 15 years old. It's up to you. Do you like your toilet? She's like, well, it's okay. I was like, okay, cool. I kind of just let it sit there for a second. And she goes, now that you think about it, there is a hairline crack on the left side. If you could go take a look at that. And I was like, oh, okay, let me take a look. It wasn't leaking from there by any means, but you definitely could see it. And I was like, well, it's not going to get any better. So this would be the time to take care of this if you want. I could provide my own toilet, or you can provide a toilet of your own. She decided to do that. So she went out and got a toilet. I came back today. I knew exactly what I was getting into, pulled the toilet, put the new one in there. I think I was done in probably 30 minutes. I walk in the living room. I was like, would you believe me if I'm done? And she said, no. I was like, well, I am done.
Just that good.
It's just one of those things. Like, don't judge us. We might have charged you $300 or $400, but don't charge us for the 30 minutes. Or don't be mad at us because it only took us 30 minutes. I mean, I can make it take 2 hours if you want me to. I go sit in the truck, but boss isn't going to like that. So just know that, we're professional plumbers, and we do this every single day, and it's something that you get better at, you get more confident at, it gets easier to get prices. Everything just goes easy.
Yeah. And people these days can't do basic maintenance, understanding basic mechanics of looking in a toilet and seeing what it is, and just very basic stuff. People don't want to do it. And so they call us, and guess what? We do it all day, every day. All right. So let's go ahead and controversial topics and pet peeves. Do y'all have any subjects to bring up on that?
When the customer says, I could do it, I just don't have time. And then proceeds to sit there and watch you do it.
Yep, I knew he was coming with that.
They start off, it's so easy. This is going to be your easiest job of the day. That one's pretty bad. Those
are the customers that drive me nuts, because it never is as easy as they explain it to be. And I'm like, no, it's actually not going to be that easy. It's going to take me probably an hour and a half or 2 hours. And for us, that's usually a pretty decent job. If we're doing this stuff every day, like I said, toilets, 30 minutes to an hour, probably, 2 hours, probably like looking at a water heater, or you're like cutting into some drywall, getting into some ceilings, some walls, really moving stuff around, which sucks. But it's like, yeah, I hate it when they're, I used to do this stuff all the time, but I just don't really have the time now.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
you just
just
watch
watch
me
it.
the whole time.
Yeah.
Did he at least talk to you?
Right.
Did he just stare at you? 'Cause I know we mentioned one of mine is the customer just staring at you. Like I'll try to make conversation with them, just wants to look at me the whole time.
Brandon, you're turning those wrenches backwards. Stop it.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, yeah. I think I've gotten pretty good at like letting them know that I'm okay. Like I don't need you right by me.
Yeah.
Respectfully. Respectfully.
Yeah.
What do you guys say whenever the customer says, "How long do you think this is going to take?"
Depends what it is.
What I typically say if they ask me how long it's going to take, I say, "How long do you want it to take?"
Mm.
And then they're like, and that like usually gets them the chuckle. I'm like, I don't know. It's going to take however long it's going to take.
I always say if everything goes according to plan, it should take this long.
There you go.
I had a customer yesterday. I was already home. It was one of the other guys. He goes there to pull a 75-gallon water heater and replace it. It was leaking. So he gives her the price and all that. And she's like, okay, yeah, go ahead and do it. He starts disconnecting everything, draining it and whatnot. Customer calls the office complaining about the price, saying that she went online and looked it up and it's twice this much and it's only this much. And I just don't see why it's that price. So I ended up calling her. Well, I called my guy and I was like, hey, just stop what you're doing. Cause he didn't even know. That's the other thing. She didn't tell him.
Yeah.
He had no clue. He's in there working away. Meanwhile, she's bucking the price. So I said, hey, stop what you're doing. Let me talk to her. And then, we'll see what she says. And so I started talking to her and basically like I was telling her that we went through the whole thing about why plumbing costs so much, why the heater only costs this. Well, you got that, then you have tax, then you have markups, which every business charges markups for their part. 75-gallon water heater is not cheap. We need a second guy to come in to help pull and reset the new one. We're rebuilding the recirculating, all the stuff, all the things. And ultimately, what it came down to is that I told her, I said, hey, I get it if this is too expensive for you. The problem is you already agreed to it, and my guy has already started doing the work. So how would you like me to proceed at this point? And then she was like, well, how do you want to proceed? I was like, okay.
Checkmate.
Yeah. So, I mean, those situations, like what I did is I ended up giving her 10% off, and it was still good for my guy. It was still good price, but like now she's blacklisted because like if a customer's gonna agree to the price, have you get started, then call the office, like that's automatic blacklist. I have no patience for people like that, customers.
I got a pet peeve for you.
What's that?
Is it a water heater or a hot water heater?
Oh, jeez. Depends how you look at it. Depends what it's looking like.
Yeah, that's true. Does it have a bikini on?
Well, if they're in parallel, then one of them is a hot water heater.
That's true.
Yeah. The one and only time.
I went to Hot Springs, Arkansas. I don't know, 3-4 years ago now. And there they literally have hot springs, hot water. And so I was like, hold on, is this a true hot water heater?
It is.
Hot water is being fed into the water heater and being heated. I was like, it's a hot water heater. I can now call it that.
That's kind of like here in Arizona during the summer, you can't even get cold water if you want it.
How deep are your guys' like mains, water lines?
A couple feet, maybe.
Yeah, not
It just
much.
depends. There's some areas in like Ahwatukee where it's really hilly or fountain hills, where I made some repairs on some lines or ran new lines where they're 4 or 5 feet deep, just because the difference in elevation. But other than that, a couple feet, because we don't have to deal with the cold. It's lucky for us, but
surely your guys' ground temperature water is like 70.
they say during the summer it's probably lukewarm.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Some customers are like, I don't even use the hot water.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's it's starting to get warmer over here for sure. Are you feeling it, Mac?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did we replaced probably 20 feet of 4-inch cast the other day outside. Luckily, most of it I was on an excavator work operating it and stuff, but man, it was hot. Came
Mhm.
home, my neck was red. Just now it's peeling. It's you gotta cover up, but then you're hotter when you cover up. It's a lose-lose for sure if you're working outside.
Yeah. Well, at least you get to sit on the excavator.
Yeah,
You
I
don't
know.
have to. You don't have to dig it.
Yeah, seriously.
So I know whenever I kind of like first started plumbing, I tried to have a positive mindset, but I really had a negative mindset towards it. Um, kind of working into plumbing, I was just like, oh man, I got another call. This sucks. I got to go fix this nasty poopy toilet or whatever. I got to go fix this sewer line. This sucks. How have you like combated the negative mindset versus the positive mindset over the years? And has it, gotten better? Has it gotten easier? What do you guys think?
Um, in my scenario, I think the worst, most frustrating part about it was not knowing everything. Like going into a call, just sweating, like, oh my gosh, all right, I want to come off confident, but also I'm gonna have to look at my phone, make 10 phone calls, and that simple call will last 2 or 3 hours because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. It was more the anxiety of it, to be honest, going to a call, knowing like I should not be going to this call. What am I? Should I? I mean, I really thought about quitting. I was like, maybe this isn't for me. I'm not catching on. That was only like 6 months in, but um, yeah, no, there was a huge point where I was like, I'm done with this. This is not for me. But then once I got more knowledge and knew what I was doing, had a kid, so I had more responsibility, more reason to try to enjoy what I do, and obviously started making the videos. It makes it a lot more fun, getting feedback and stuff. So I'd say I'm happy most days going to work now. I mean, today I did not want to go. Mostly just like when it's slow too. I don't know how it works with your guys' companies, but if it's slow, if I don't have a call, I'm going home because I'm not getting paid to sit around. So then I'll be on my way home and it's 2:30, another call comes in, and I live in the corner of the valley. Those piss me off more than anything because I know other people could take them, but I have to go do it. But at the same time, I should be happy because I'm making more money. It's just like this complex.
Mm.
Um, you really have to be disciplined and want to do it, or else you could go weeks without making a lot of money just because you want to go home early. Um, Probably that's the biggest struggle right now is balancing between working later to make more money, or do I want to go home early because it's kind of slow and nothing else might come in.
Yeah, I definitely get in those mindsets of like, especially if you have a good week and the next week you're like, yeah, it's just not really being diligent, asking the questions. And like it's very subtle. I've noticed this in myself. It's very subtle when I'm like not into it. And the way I kind of just let the call slide by and I get to go home early, but that's not doing right by the customer. Well, it's mainly not doing right by the customer. That's not the professional, way to go about it. But like you said, the the uh the biggest thing that helped me, I think, was switching from hourly to commission. When I first moved here, I was straight, well, I was hourly and then a little bit of spiffs I talked about in the past. And on top of that, I was learning HVAC, sort of. So, like, there's this one section, like this one area, HVAC, where I know nothing. And I'm just like instantly confused the second anything happens. And it's just so much friction as opposed to like, I can just go and do a plumbing call. That's not a big deal. Um, so, I had that. It's kind of like what you had where you're takes a long time to do stuff, and then broke fix mentality. So I was getting paid hourly, and then I was just going in fixing whatever was needed to be done, and I was out. I was running like 6 calls a day, you know. So that was a big one. Switching to commission and understanding that my pay can increase drastically if I wanted to. So now I'm not waiting. Now I'm not trying to convince someone of my value come review time, that I deserve an extra dollar per hour, extra $2 per hour. How much money I make, for you guys. I shouldn't have to argue or fight for whatever, a couple of bucks an hour. But aside, and that's why I can just set my own pay with commission wise. And then the slowing down and connecting with customers. allows me to actually kind of like generate that positive attitude, like I was talking before. So like combination of those three things is really what kind of keeps me in a positive mood. And then the podcast now, and just got to be proactive. You can't just sit in your van by yourself and listening to YouTube or podcast all day.
I mean, you can, but
You can, oh
Listen to
yeah.
that Plumbing podcast all day.
I've done it for
Exactly.
years. Yeah. Yeah.
One thing you want to tap on, so in terms of hourly versus commission, so typically, at least at my company, when we hire someone, we start them off hourly, obviously just to make sure they know what they're doing and stuff. Because like I've said, in Arizona, anyone could get hired to any job or any company and not know anything. So they'll start off hourly. A lot of things we try to do at my company is we try to train people up that have a general knowledge for plumbing, and then try to, get them to do things how we want it done the right way, pretty much. Um, so all these kids will come in, they're being paid hourly, they want to, like, I want to be commissioned, I want to be commissioned, and then they get commissioned, but their knowledge isn't there yet, and they end up making less money than hourly. So if you have the option, make sure you know what you're doing, or else you're not going to make a lot of money doing commission. That's just what I've seen too many people where they're hurrying to be on commission, and then they'll spend all day on a water heater job where maybe a couple things went wrong that they've never seen, that, you know, a plumber that's progressed and has seen multiple scenarios that can happen would be able to take care of it quickly. They're trying to work through those new issues that they've never seen before. It makes their job drag out way longer, but they're going to get paid that same amount. So if you're going to do commission, make sure you know what you're doing, or else it might bite you in the butt.
yeah, that's true. I mean, it's weird that we got differencing opinions in here because I first came from a commission company and now I'm at an hourly with Spiff's company, and I prefer that, even though Brandon's the opposite of me. But it's like you kind of have to find a happy medium of what you're looking for. Because I mean, yeah, I probably could make more money at the commission place, but like my mental headspace is going to be trash. And so, like, to me, that's worth way much more than any money, any dollar amount that you could ever give me. And so, like, coming to work with a positive mindset means so much more than going to a company where I make, $150,000 a year, but I hate every minute of it.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably a little more stressful too, because
Yeah.
it's really on you to make your money. Not that you need to go sell stuff people don't need, because I mean, at least in Arizona, every house you go into, there's going to be something
Yeah.
that needs replaced. I don't care if it's a brand new house. There's something that will need to be replaced. So it's on you. Like if you're more, I don't want to say lazy, but if you're kind of a lazy, just want to cruise through your day, take your time, go out to lunch every day, maybe hourly's for you. For me, I want to make my money, do what I need to do, and get home as soon as I can. That's
Yeah.
kind of how I play out each day, which bites me in the butt sometimes. But you you need to you need to realize you're in control of your income. So if you're not working super hard, you're not going to make a lot of money, and it's solely on you. So I can see how hourly is appealing for sure, because you know what you're going to get paid. You can go do a thorough job. I see your side for sure.
It's like I've used both sides to my advantage now, as like, as working for commission, like I found that next gear of like working efficient, working quickly, and working, fast, I guess, all together, but like making sure you're not messing up. And then whenever I came over here, it's like, well, I can slow down, which is kind of good. But at the same time, if I do need to kick it up to that gear again, I can go right back to that and know that I'm still going to get paid the same across the board. So it's kind of like I can kind of, shift those gears a little bit depending on the day, which really makes, the week go by pretty quick, honestly.
Now, how much potential can you make in spiffs? Because like it was the same thing as you, the little spiffs. And so like roughly you could make anywhere from like $1,000 to $2,000 a month in spiffs extra.
Yeah.
Granted, different companies, different everything, but I mean, is your spiff potential is that good?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it's upwards of that. I would say, I don't know, my average is probably like $600 to $800 a month, which isn't a whole lot, but it's like That's not bad.
So so you get a base hourly, and then is it certain, jobs like installing a water heater and stuff like that, you get spiffs on just the base,
Yep,
those
you get certain percentages on like water heaters, water softeners, drinking water systems, stuff like that, and then you'll get like a flat rate base pay on like toilets, shower valves,
Gotcha.
faucets, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
Oh, that's
See,
nice.
see, that could definitely work if the numbers are right. Find that
absolutely,
happy median. What I've done and I've seen other guys do is if you're like hourly or if you're hourly slash spiff and you want to go to commission, you don't just be like, oh, I could do commission. I'm going to start when I go commission. You want to start treating each call like it's commission,
right.
slowing down, offering the options, seeing what you would make before you pull the plug. And I mean, do whatever, a month, 3 weeks, or whatever feels comfortable between you and your boss, to where you can look at the numbers and say, okay, now it makes sense to switch.
I mean, the biggest thing that like I know I didn't do this quite as consistently as I do now, but I wish I would have done this more at the commission job is I try on every call to get water pressure and get my water quality checked. Because even if my customer doesn't say yes to any of those options I provide them today, I'm going to send them as recommendations. And usually they're going to call us back about one of those options in a month, in a year, in 2 years, who knows? Even if I don't get the spiff on it or whatever, if one of the other techs that works with me gets a spiff, sweet, our company's still winning and we're still getting back in that door.
So the way I kind of look at it, at least for my personal situation, since I am on commission, the ultimate goal is to get a guarantee with commission on top. So say, you have multiple years of showing that you produce over $100,000. Maybe you talk to your boss, say, hey, can I have a guarantee of 100,000? And then anything that I provide over that is on top of that because you're making more money and then I make more money. And I've seen some people get that. And I think that's a pretty sweet deal because you have a baseline. You can base all your expenses and stuff off of your base salary, and then everything on top is extra. That's where I want to get, at least ultimately.
I've thought about that as well, like a base pay plus your commission, and then because that's like your way of maintaining that valuable plumber. You're giving him that base pay no matter what. Our company is going to start implementing something like what you said, Mac, where you don't get like a guaranteed amount, but if you have a slow week, you can like get paid for a full week. Like you get like 3 in the bank. If you have a slow week, you can be like, okay, this week, whatever, we'll give you whatever it is, whatever you agree upon.
Yeah.
So that could be very, very valuable. And
Yeah, I think it really comes into play because most of the techs that are producing that much consistently are gonna naturally move towards a manager type role where the other plumbers that aren't quite as experienced are going to be calling him on the phone all the time. He's going to be doing a ton of estimates. So his ability to increase his income or kind of keep it the same kind of goes down just based off of him having to answer phone calls from other less experienced ones. I think that's the idea behind it, I guess. So you're still getting paid your worth, but you're also helping out the other plumbers. And then if one week you kill it, you'll get everything on top for sure.
I always thought a great perk would be you get $15 a day for lunch. Just charge it to your card.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It's like, it's not that much, but it says a lot to me. If I was like getting my lunch paid for every day, that'd be really cool.
Dude, that's like free Chipotle every day or something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So one day, we will have all the benefits and get these damn private equity companies out of business.
So here you go. I got a couple broke fix scenarios for you. What would you guys do if you had a Moen Posi temp that was dripping? Would you give him a repair option, replace option, or would you just give him a repair option?
I'd probably say,
because you know what I mean? Like, do you go in there and provide 2 or 3 options, or you just say, well, this is leaking, let's go ahead and take care of that for you today?
it depends. I'd probably explain sometimes these cartridges, depending on if it's the newer ones that are all plastic or the older ones that are metal. Because because the metal ones don't always come out. So it doesn't really matter what type it is. I'll always say, hey, I can replace the cartridge right now if that cartridge can't come out because you don't have a softener or whatever the reason is. We will have to replace the valve. So I'll always try to just do the cartridge if it's possible, if the valve's looking good. But I'll put it in the back of their head, hey, there's a potential to do the valve as well, unless you want to do the valve too. It just depends. If it's a clean looking valve, I'll usually just do the cartridge. I don't see any point to change it.
Do you know if there's a telltale sign if before you take anything apart, if you could tell if it's an old brass cartridge?
No, so all the trims gonna look the same.
That's what. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I've painted.
I've only seen like 2 or maybe 3.
Yeah, there's quite a few subdivisions, older subdivisions that all of them are built with those metal ones.
Wow.
And they're not, almost every time I go in there, I say, hey, I'm gonna yank on this a little. More than likely, we're gonna have to cut into the wall and
Right.
get all that out of there. But those are a nightmare. They never understand why you can't pull it out. Why not? Let me get in. Let me try to get that out of there. Like they think I'm not pulling super hard or something. I don't know, but those can be a pain in the butt.
What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, what Max said, definitely inquire about the water quality, the pressure, but preparing them, saying, definitely try and pull it first, just because I really don't want to cut into walls.
Right.
But preparing them, saying if this doesn't work, or if it drips, or if it's worse, or if it breaks, we're not liable. We'll have to escalate to the valve replacement. This is how much that will cost. So I'll go as far as make sure they're ready to pay that in case the cartridge, which I'm sure you do too, Mac, but just making sure and outlining it and trying to cover all my bases so there's no surprises.
Yeah, and honestly, in that situation, a lot of the times, if I have a weird feeling about the whole thing, or if it's a brand new customer who's kind of questioning the price, I'll have them sign something. I'll just type it up in Service Type really quick. That's the thing we use for invoices. I'll type it up just really quick, an estimate saying, hey, if this does happen, this happens and we're not liable. Because I've lost a lot of money not doing that.
What about, does that change if it's an older person? Like, say they're 85. Are you still giving them the replacement option? This is a trick question.
Yeah, I'll still give them the option. I mean, whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to try to just do the cartridge if everything's going to look good. But, if someone didn't wipe off their flux or something and there's corrosion on the valve, I'm going to say, hey, let's just nip this in the butt and get it done.
That's fair.
Change the whole valve out and make sure everything's good.
Yeah, even though people get the replacement option.
Yes. I know it's like, I even catch myself sometime going in there and I'm like, man, this guy doesn't want a $1,200 shower valve. Come on, man. But then I'm like, no, Josh, give him the option. Okay. Maybe he wants that and you don't know. Don't choose for your customer.
Yeah. It's tough. It's like the end of the day, you don't want to get your van writing up an estimate, but it seems like the estimates that you don't expect to come back do
every time,
whatever reason.
It'd be like 2:00 on a Friday. You don't want to do this, and then they're like, "Yeah, let's go with the new cartridge," and you're like, "God, that's the last thing I want to do, but we're gonna do it. Yeah, we'll take care of it."
Yeah. We talk about changing the way that people see plumbers, both customers, but also potential plumbers moving forward. And, hopefully one of the goals of doing this, the podcast and all, is we get a chance to show people what plumbers are really like. trying to modernize it, a little bit. Like modern plumbing requires like thinking. It does require like technical abilities and most importantly, like dealing with people and building that relationship with them. The service part, customers are paying for the service. The parts are free. What are we looking for in apprentices? What do they need to be able to do? And it really starts as basic, like you said, show up consistently for work, ready to learn.
Even if don't expect to have tools in your hands at all times as an apprentice. Like that's just not going to be the case. yes, there will be days when, all right, we're doing a pretty routine call. I'm going to have you do all the work today. I'm just going to kind of watch and make sure you're doing fine. And if you have any questions, please bounce them off me type deal. But like, I remember when I was learning a bunch of stuff, one of the guys that I was riding with a bunch, he's an incredible plumber, still out there working, but he does not give up the wrenches. And it was really hard for me to start learning fully from him, just because at some point you got to get your hands on the wrenches and you got to start turning the pipes and figuring out how it works and how it feels and what's right and what's wrong. Otherwise, you can only watch so much and get so good. Yes, that helps, but you have to physically do it yourself to really understand it.
I say the first good positive sign of an apprentice is if they're watching their foreman do the work and they're able to bring them the tool they need next for the next step.
Bingo.
That's probably the biggest positive sign I'd see. It just puts a smile on your face when they bring you exactly what you need. And then when they do that, you know what we need. You know what we need to do. Give it a try.
Yeah, being like paying attention. I mean, I put down paying attention. Like, is if I'm doing something, doesn't matter how simple it might be or whatnot. Like, pay attention to what I'm doing, because it's a lot of plumbing, service plumbing is about the little things, the attention to details, so that like you don't flood a house or whatnot. So like not being on your phone any free second, staying by me. Like if I'm doing stuff, walking from the room to the room, diagnosing, like stick with me and pay attention to like the diagnosing process. Because I remember when I was my apprenticeship, phones weren't quite as big. I mean, they were still around, but like I was focused in all the time. Oh, that's right. I was an apprentice. So I couldn't just be on my phone. Now I can just always be on my phone with an AirPod, but I just like watched everything that he was doing, his movements. And I think I was learning, and so like that just shows your initiative. And especially if you can show them, if you can bring tools before they need them, that shows that you're paying attention, you understand what's going on, and you know what to do next.
Brandon, you make a good point there. It's not just like, I want to elaborate off that. You say that, that watch what I'm doing. It's not just watch what I'm doing, but like watch like how I'm doing it or why I'm doing it, and ask questions of, oh, well, why are you doing it this way? Could you do it this way? And it's either a yes or no, and then it starts a dialogue to opening up more information that you can gather pretty quickly from an experienced plumber. So it's just like one of those things. Yeah, you can watch them, but like watch how they're doing it, because typically there's a reason behind why we're doing something the way that we're doing it. Either we've been taught this way, that this is the way that it has to be done, or specifically, don't do it this other way because it's definitely not going to work. So I mean, there's definitely, I mean, I don't know, there's probably 3 or 4 different ways to plumb anything, but usually there's a couple different ways that each of us do it, and it's like we're doing it for certain reasons. These are the steps that we know are going to work.
Yeah. Just to finish all that up, I'd say the biggest 2 things that are going to set you apart as an apprentice is not looking at it as a job at first, but more of an education. Yeah, you're getting paid, but you're learning. You're at school right now. If you can think of it like that, you're going to get way ahead of everyone else. The second thing that's really going to set you apart is you can know how to do something, but you need to know why you're doing it. If you ask why you're doing it in weird ways, it's going to tie into other things within plumbing that are just going to start making sense for you. So if you're wondering why, trying to think of just an example, why is he backing up a fitting when he's threading something on? Why is he? I don't know why he's doing it. I'm just going to do it. Well, so you don't break that fitting off. And then you can take that to any other sort of application in plumbing and know this is why I'm doing that. So then if there's an iffy situation, you're like, yeah, I'm going to back it up just to make sure it doesn't break off. That's obviously a simple example, but when you ask why, it really ties everything together. I just remember when I was probably a year and a half in, it was weird. Like one day, everything kind of just clicked. It's like my mind opened up. I was like, oh, everything ties together. Like everything plays off of each other. If you know this, it's going to help you with this. So yeah.
No, that's great.
It's kind of like that bubble diagram. Like I don't know what those are called, but it's like a bubble here, a bubble here. They just keep connecting. They just keep connecting, and they keep. I'm like,
they do.
What?
Yeah, no, it's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, I'll just go ahead and say this. I mean, there's some people that like to gatekeep, I guess, plumbing as a field, but I mean, it's totally doable, and it's probably not as hard as you think it is. You do have to pay attention to detail. You have to have a certain character to stick with it day in and day out, messing with the sewer, messing with the heat, digging. It takes a certain type of person to be able to complete it. So not just anyone can be a plumber, but you can really, especially with modern technology and the resources that are out there, you could really know your shit in a year with the right mentor and the right attitude. 100K plus, but not just money. It's not just about the money. It's the type of person that you will be as you're making that money. Positive, going through life, helping other plumbers, educating customers, making connections. It's just this whole, it's a lifestyle. We really have no bosses directly over us. We basically have our own business. And geez, I don't think I could ever go, I couldn't go to a regular boss, like go work in a office full time.
Dude,
Oof.
there's no way I could go work in an
Yeah.
office.
And there's a lot of kids out there that don't want to go to school and they can't sit down. They physically, whatever, they ADHD or they work with their hands. That's okay. It's okay to not want to sit in front of a computer all day. And the trades is where it's at. Plumbing, HVAC, all of them.
Honestly, plumbing is easy, but being good at plumbing is not easy. And that's what it comes down to, is like a lot of practice, a lot of repetitions, a lot of learning, a lot of messing up, a lot of learning from your mess ups and then continuing to grow. I mean, I definitely don't know everything, but I try and learn something new every day if I can to increase my craft, because this is what I do. This is a career for me.
Plumbing is easy, but being a good plumber is not easy. You're dealing with all of the technical stuff and then dealing with customers and setting expectations. It's very challenging.
I will say I've been getting a lot of DMs, and probably 50 DMs saying they love the podcast.
Hell yeah.
Oh, really?
That's just, a little tidbit might make you
That's
happy.
awesome. Yeah, y'all are. I think y'all two are the top episodes already.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I just got the email and I think about 7,500 listens overall. That's a very vague metric, but it's definitely more than one. So, some people are, people are liking it. People are getting value. Moving forward, of a guy from Watts that's supposed to be coming on soon.
Nice.
A business owner here from a guy here in the Valley. I got to confirm that, but I'm really trying to keep it on the technician level and not go where it's like business owners per se.
Yeah.
I want to be fellow technicians and people thinking about getting into the field.
Who was that company that you said was making videos that you were going to try and have people train off of, you said? Is it like Interplay Learning?
Yeah,
it's Interplay.
Yeah.
I thought so.
I've never done them, but
yep, Interplay.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so shout out to Interplay. They have a lot of basic level stuff that is valuable to people who are new apprentices. All right, so we're about wrapping up. You guys want to give out your handles so people can follow you? Go check out your videos.
Yeah, my handle is plum_AZ on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Shoot me a DM if you have a question or just want to say hi.
I think for all of my stuff, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, I am Sleepy Plumber, Plumber without the E. And then you can find me on Facebook at Josh JB Burleson as well.
And I'm Brandon the Plumber on here and YouTube. But you can also shoot me an email. It's brandon@thatplumbingpodcast.com. If you want coaching, if you want to be a guest, specifically if you're from one of the bigger companies, the private equity ones. Also, shoot me an email as well if you would like to be part of our group text. So Mac, Josh, and I were in a group text just on our phones with our personal numbers. And if you're interested, if you're an apprentice or if you just want to join and start to connect with us, shoot me an email, send me your number, and I'll add you to the group, or reach out to Josh or Mac as well. They can add you as well. So just going to keep working on that, trying to build a community. And I know that once I finally get myself to do the YouTube stuff, that will be a little bit easier. So as always, guys, thanks for coming on. That was really cool. This is the first time we've done 3 people, our first threesome.
This was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having us.
No problem. I'm sure we'll be in touch. All right.
And scene.